I got all I want, and I got all I need, and I got everything. I got you and me. All I want, I got all
There's
I
the
need.
best. Today we're going to be talking about another one of our phases. We've been through quite a few of them, the developmental phases of marriage. And we kind of started out after finishing sustainability as kind of a major theme. And now we have done some work. We talked a little bit about what development is in an earlier episode. And then we've been kind of working through some of the phases. The first phase we talked about was the honeymoon phase. It's a very you-focused phase, right? I'm focused on you because you're everything. And so that's a fun phase. And then we move into disillusionment. Disillusionment, I'm going to say, actually is a focus on me, because in fact, I am focused on how you're impacting me and how I feel about you and how I feel about the different kind of strengths and weaknesses that you're showing and how those wonderful things that you do impact me. Disillusionment is kind of a me-focused phase. It's not wrong. None of the phases are necessarily wrong, but it's something to work through. And note that it's a phase in over the course of a relationship. Teamwork, if done well, transforms the me phase into a we phase, where your focus and orientation in the marriage is very much focused on the team dynamic, working together, doing things well together, understanding each other, communicating really well, understanding kind of where the team is going and kind of supporting one another in doing that. So there's it's a we focus. The disruption phase X that we talked about, really focused on the idea of how children impact marriage and disrupt the whole kind of system. It's not a you, it's not a me, it's not a we. It all of a sudden becomes about them. We talked about kind of combating the them in that season of disruption so that you can do that, do the marriage right and do marriage well, despite the fact that it is being disrupted. And we talked about how beautiful those disruptions are and how it's actually a very necessary part of growing and learning and changing as a person. We also talked about how when you are unable to have children, how that also impacts and disrupts the marriage. So we've gone from the you to the me to the we to the them, and today we are going to talk about the you. Today we're going to talk about the marriage phase of sustainability. Now I know what you're thinking. This is a full circle moment on so many levels, and you love it. You love how full circle this is. You, me, we, them, you. And in the life of the podcast, we started with ideas around sustainability, and now we're talking about the phase of sustainability. Isn't that fun? So, when is the sustainable phase? And if there is a sustainable phase, why would it ever not be a sustainable phase? And in my brain, this might not surprise you, but all of the marriage is encapsulated within this phase. Sustainability isn't something that happens after disruption, after teamwork, after disillusionment, after the honeymoon. Sustainability is the thing that makes the marriage last throughout all the phases. Now, we haven't even gone through all the phases, right? There are some later year marital dynamics that we may need to discuss and analyze. But I think sustainability is kind of a fun next step on our journey of exploring the marital development in all the phases. So, when I thought of the word sustainability at first, I actually also thought of a second word. And the second word that came to mind was sacrifice. Marriages are about sacrifice. And when marriages go awry, it is often in an area lacking sacrifice. Now, balancing sustainability and sacrifice is difficult and very nuanced and very unique to your marriage. But the idea of sacrifice is incredibly important when you talk about wanting to create a sustainable system and move through your marriage through all the phases in a sustainable way, the sustainable phase of the marriage. When I thought of this idea of sacrifice, I was thinking about all of the sacrifices that Rebecca and I have made over the course of our marriage. And even more in particular, I've been thinking about the sacrifices that I have made over the course of our marriage. Now, why am I thinking about my sacrifices? Well, mostly because I am me, and so my sacrifices come to mind. And her sacrifices, I'm sure, would come to mind if she were thinking about the same thing. So early on, there was a lot of sacrifices in the areas of like movies, music, and media. Becca had a strong effect on Becca. We noticed it early and we noticed it often. And so we had to kind of structure the way that we watched movies and the way that we listened to music and the way that we interacted with media in a way that wouldn't constantly create, just awful feelings in Becca. And it was good and it was hard. And a lot of the ideas around the sacrifice were like, let's make sure that when the way that we watch movies and music and with the way that we interact with social media is a way that we both are comfortable and we're both feeling kind of honored in the way that we're doing it. So there is really nothing to do with control. It kind of sounds like control, but there's really very little to do with control and so much more to do with sustainability. The difference being that both individuals elected to submit to or sacrifice to a standard for acting and reacting that both individuals were agreed that would bless both parties as they moved through their marriage. So there was a good amount of sacrifice early on in that area. And it created a lot more sustainability. If I think back and I think back to if I would have taken an attitude of I'm not willing to give on this area, the amount of destruction that would have had on my wife would be immense. It would be an immense amount of destruction to not sacrifice or be mindful or thoughtful or gracious in the areas that she is sensitive to. Now, that doesn't mean that I've always been thoughtful or that I have always sacrificed. In fact, I haven't. There has been many moments that I have decided to engage in things that I felt were fine and that Becca would have disagreed with or did disagree with. And when that would happen, we would enter into this rhythm of conversation that we both would need to kind of share in order to get on the same page or at least express a level of understanding for where the decision came from, why it was made, whether it was made out of thoughtfulness, whether it was made out of a lack of thoughtfulness, wherever it came from, we would discuss that. We would discuss the impact that that decision had on the parties, and then we would, get to a place of repair, and we would make a plan for moving forward and engaging and continuing to engage in these different areas where our marriage in particular is sensitive. And it was a very sustainable way of moving through the sacrifices and moving through maybe a lack of sacrifice. Other sacrifice areas I could come up with were, just time, hopes, desires. There's been so many times I can't even count. Literally, I can't even count the number of times that I have been invited by my one brother to go and do something that I have had to say no. And it's kind of painful. It's not my favorite thing to do, but it happens so frequently. It's almost, it's bordering on the ridiculous, really. Recently, I've been able to say yes. Well, I was able to say one time yes, and even in that yes, we balanced time, we balanced effort, we balanced energy, Becca and I. So in saying yes to playing volleyball this winter, not only did we play volleyball, but I also brought the kids anytime that the volleyball was scheduled during a time when they were awake. And so instead of saying, yes, that is for me, I can go ahead and do that, and then creating extra time for Becca to be on the clock in an which is like, it's unsustainable. That's something that, I don't want to be at work all day long and then have my spouse not abandon me, but like let me know that I have to be back at work. That wouldn't be sustainable. I wouldn't be a good counselor either if I was working 13 hours and then had to go back on the clock late at night for another 4 or 5, especially if that happened every week for, 3 or 4 months. So even in the sacrifices in the no's, right? We're making sacrifices for the relationship and to make sure that we're sustained. In the yeses, we're also thinking about sustainability. When we're not sacrificing, we're still sacrificing. We're finding the in-between. We're creating those it's a C word and it means, compromise. There you go. We're creating compromises as we're balancing. Another area where I find that I sacrifice, is in just alone time. Becca doesn't need any alone time when it comes to adult human interaction because she loves people and wants to be around them all the time. And I prefer to recharge by myself or doing something mindless or solo or, just kind of spending some time downtime. She likes that too, but there is a sacrifice in alone time because whenever the two needs in the marriage are opposites, there is room for sacrifice. So I need some time alone. Becca needs some time together. I need to go on a run. Becca needs to sit still. I want to play a game and interact, and Becca wants to chill and watch Netflix. Now, those things can all kind of be altered or, changed. Each kind of element could be represented by the other person. I could want the thing that I said she wanted and vice versa. And we've kind of experienced all of those different combinations over the years. But whenever the needs are kind of faced in the opposite direction, that creates an opportunity for sacrifice and sustainability or woundedness and growing apart. When we choose not to sacrifice and create sustainability, we oftentimes create really difficult things to repair. And repair is one of the things that we're going to talk about later, or maybe just right now, that is incredibly necessary if you want to sustain the marital relationship across all of time. It's one of the dynamics in conflict that reduces the likelihood that bitterness or resentment, which are two of the main marriage killers out there, will not crop up and not root into the system and create cracks in the foundation and kind of destroy the marriage slowly but surely over time. Repair protects you from that, protects you from bitterness, and it protects you from resentment. Repair is kind of what I was talking about earlier, where we both come to the table, we both share our thoughts and feelings about any given topic. We both seek to hear and understand where the other person is coming from. Amends are made when applicable, usually mostly applicable, where apologies are made and ownership is taken, right, over those choices that were made. And then the relationship is able to move on. There's forgiveness available, and, you're able to kind of move from where you are into the next section of time. Sacrifices are a great opportunity for creating that compromises. Well, not sacrifices, but when the two people's needs are not aligned, and especially when two people's desires or needs are opposite in their direction. That is tough. When we think about sustainability in our marriages, we want to think about sacrifice. Another element of the phase of sustainability that runs the entire gambit of the lifespan of the marriage, you are always in a phase where sustainability matters in your marriage. It is an underlying kind of foundational phase every day, every week, every month, every year, each pair of years, each decade, and beyond. All of them require sustainability, and all of them greatly benefit from kind of intentional pursuing of that kind of sacrificial, sustainable model. Some of the things that we've gone over in the past, positive investments that make the sustainability run throughout the season is some of them are cultural, right? So some cultural notes in the season of sustainability, or the phase of sustainability. First would be the appreciation. The more that you can call out and identify and acknowledge and verbalize anything that you could possibly appreciate about your spouse, anything that they did at the house, a meal that they cooked, a thoughtful gesture that they made, remembering your birthday. Becca recently did that for me. That was pretty cool. Any of the things that you can do to call out and appreciate whatever your partner is up to, those are good things that should be represented in the culture regularly calling that out. We are the kind of people that whenever we see something positive, we call it out. Number two in this area of kind of positive investments would be the affection. 8 non-sexual affectionate touches throughout the day, every day. Again, this is a sustainability thing. It's a phase of sustainability. So in the honeymoon phase, that's pretty easy. In the disillusionment phase, it's a little more difficult. In the teamwork phase, it's also quite difficult. In the disruption phase, it becomes very difficult. And so underlying all of that is this phase of sustainability. That's why it's so important. And that's kind of why we started where we started with the podcast. That and Becca quit doing the year-by-year thing. So we probably would have done that if she wanted to do more. I did have her scheduled for tonight, honestly. Real talk. I did have her scheduled for tonight, but she's having a baby soon. My baby, in fact, very soon. And so she gets a pass. She has made many, 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 many sacrifices in the areas of carrying our children. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's a wonderful thing. And we're so excited to meet kind of our new addition. So she's made incredible sacrifices in all those areas. And I'm so grateful for that. And I made sure to let her know that tonight, even though, it didn't work out for us to record year 5. We will eventually. I'm pretty sure. So affection is important in all the phases. And that's why the sustainability phase runs concurrently under all the phases of your marriage. Sustainability is something you need to keep in mind. Intimacy is really, it's pretty important. It's like sometimes in marriage counseling, I find that intimacy becomes incredibly important to some people. And then other times it's not as important. It's always important, but it's more of a cultural thing in a marriage. By that, I mean, if you are in a marriage where the culture is intimate, you are going to find intimacy. If you're in a culture of a marriage that is sustainable and you're investing into it, you're making these positive investments of time and kindness and thoughtfulness, and you're celebrating your partner and they're seeing and hearing and understanding and knowing you, and you're doing that for them, you're going to find intimacy, like a good amount of it, plenty of it. You know what I mean? Because those are the things that create intimacy. And if they're not creating intimacy, usually that's a sign that something is awry. There's a physical thing, there's a mental health thing, there's a historical thing, there's something going on that needs to be looked at, which is not that the marriage system is broken, but that there's something that needs to be addressed in the intimacy area, which is fine. Like that's super common. And honestly, there's just a lot of, there's a good amount that needs to be addressed within that, that going and receiving the correct amount of individual help to address whatever issue there was in that, and taking care of yourself so that part of your relationship can thrive is another part of sustainability and sacrifice, because there's sacrifices in making sure that intimacy is happening. Intimacy is a cultural dynamic because intimacy runs the gambit of the phases. It is a very present thing in the honeymoon phase. We have a story about that. We're not going to tell it. It's a great story. There's intimacy that runs underneath the disillusionment phase. You need to be finding and sacrificing and engaging and enjoying intimacy in that season. Not, anyways. In the teamwork phase, lots of that. Disruption, it's tough. When you're in the disillusionment, teamwork, disruption phase, a lot of these positive investments, these sacrificial things, the sustainable things that are going to keep you going, they just get harder. They get much harder. And that's why it's important to keep sustainability in mind as the ultimate phase. The ultimate phase. Ooh, I like that. That's a good little phrase. Number 4 I have here on positive investments is the shuka. A long time ago, and I couldn't even find it the last time I was looking for it, so I don't know. I think I called it emotional intimacy, but I wanted to call it shuka, like the shuka model for marriage. I don't know how great the podcast actual episode, but the idea around it is good. The idea is SHUKA, the shuka model of emotional intimacy. When I am seen, when I am heard, when I am understood and when I'm known, I am close to you. When I'm feeling unseen, when I'm feeling unheard, when I'm feeling misunderstood, when I'm feeling unknown, I do not feel close to you. So the intimacy is basically connected to the amount of positive investment that we're making into the marriage and how those investments are impacting the marital relationship. The fifth positive element, investment, is celebration. I put that down. I thought celebration was really important. Anniversaries and birthdays. Becca recently did this for me, and I guess I recently did this in the anniversary bucket. Usually I take care of anniversaries, which I do very much enjoy. But she really celebrated my birthday in a remarkable fashion this year. It was a surprise. It was everything that I love, and I was really blessed by it. Really, really, really blessed by it. So she kind of crushed the celebration this year, and it makes a big difference. That positive investment, the time and the energy and the thoughtfulness and the organization and everything that she did in order to make that day a special thing was a huge investment in me and in our marriage. And it makes a huge difference. It makes a difference in intimacy. It makes a difference in feeling seen and heard and understood and known, appreciated and affectioned, all the things. So it was really a wonderful thing. And finally, I literally wrote down kindness and thoughtfulness. One theme that I find that comes out in marriage counseling a lot is the idea of a lack of thoughtfulness, a lack of insight or thoughtfulness. Now, sometimes that is normal because there is maybe some like conflict that's not happening that needs to be happening, or there's not repair that needs to be happening that isn't happening that needs to be happening, or there's something else going on in the culture, or the phase is really hard, like they're in a deep disruption phase with a mixture of disillusionment, and it just makes things hard. Ultimately, if you can be kind and thoughtful towards your spouse and just that, and just focus on being kind and being thoughtful over the course of your relationship, like that will get you pretty far. Now, it doesn't actually sustain the marriage just to be kind and thoughtful. That won't work forever unless there's a bunch of these other elements that also kind of undergird the marriage, because I have seen kind, thoughtful people fail in their marriages. I'm not thinking about anybody in particular, but I have seen, kind, thoughtful, wonderful people. Oftentimes, if kindness and thoughtfulness is being taken advantage of in a marriage, that obviously can make it unbalanced and lacking sacrifice and sustainability. Another thing that is really helpful over the course of a marriage is to orient yourself toward the future. So dreaming together, sharing goals, looking at the future, all of those things are really important and they're really helpful. And orienting yourself and your system around what we're doing and where we're going. In the honeymoon phase, that's important. In the disillusionment phase, that's important. In the teamwork phase and the disruption phase, you get the pattern. You've seen it. All of those things are really important when it comes to this sustainability phase. It starts with you, right? It starts with the honeymoon phase. It's all about you. Man, I love you so much. You're the best. You're the most wonderful. You're the most beautiful. It goes to me. Man, I'm not feeling it. This is hard. I'm not feeling it. You're less than the ideal. This is kind of what disillusion is. It's normal. Teamwork. Hey, here we go. Disruption. There them are. They are there and they are here and they are everywhere. Like one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, which is number 5's like favorite book right now. He is just, he just eats it up. And finally, we're back to you. Within the sustainability system, we focus on our partner. We focus on sacrifice. We focus on compromise. We focus on positive investments and future orientation. And we take good care of this other person. They are our focus. They are our person. And we're back to addressing marital issues, marital struggles, marital problems, and marital phases through the act of creating a marriage that is sustainable. So that's our episode for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Please shoot us an email. We're desperate for emails. Please go on to Apple and Spotify and write a glowing 5-star review. That would be super helpful. Please go on to YouTube. I think I will try and put a link in the show notes. And I literally was searching for the show and I couldn't find it. And so I'm doing something wrong. I'll figure it out, but I'm doing it wrong. And yeah, if you would just go on to those different places, if you wouldn't even mind like sharing the show, like if you enjoy the episode, if you could just share it on your social media platforms. I have 0 social media for myself. Becca has a social media thing. But I don't really have anything. So trying to find a way to get things. Oh, I have a LinkedIn. That's right. I do. That's what I have. Anyways, email, do the things. It's fun. Here we go. This is that.
All I